Class 8 Science, Chapter 14, Chemical Effects of Electric Current, and in this video we will discuss about electrolysis of water and electroplating. First, come to an activity, and in this activity we will observe the electrolysis of water. Now, what is the meaning of this electrolysis? Actually, electro means electricity and lysis means breakdown, tootna. When we pass the electricity and if any substance is break down, then that is called electrolysis. Now in this case, in this activity, we will pass the electricity to the water and water will break down. How? Actually, water is composed of hydrogen and oxygen and its formula can be written like this, H2O. Okay, and when we pass the electricity, this will dissociate, this will break down into hydrogen and oxygen. Let us see how. Take out carbon rods carefully from two discarded cells. Discarded means cells which are not used. जो cell खराब हो गए हैं, dry cell, torch में जो हम cell काम में लेते हैं. Okay, this is discarded cell and this is a carbon rod. Okay, and the top of this rod, this, or we can say in this cell, this one, this is a metal cap. Clean their metal caps with sandpaper. Wrap copper wires around the metal caps of the carbon rods and join them to a battery like this figure. These are carbon rods, these are metal caps, and these are the wires. Okay, these wires are wrapped like this at this place to these metal caps, and these are connected to this battery. We call these two rods electrodes. Okay, these carbon rods are called electrodes. In place of carbon rods, we can also use the iron nails. Pour a cup full of water in glass or plastic bowl. Add a teaspoonful of salt or a few drops of lemon juice to water to make it more conducting. In the previous video, we have discussed that water is a poor conductor of electricity, and to increase its conductivity, we can add salt or acid. Now, immerse the electrodes in this solution. Make sure that the metal caps of the carbon rods are outside the water. Wait for 3 to 4 minutes. Now, what will be the observation? You notice gas bubbles near the electrodes. Now, what is the conclusion? That is, change taking place in the solution is a chemical change. In the lower class, we have already discussed what is chemical change. This is the process in which new substances are formed. Actually, as we discussed, when we pass the electricity in water, water will decompose to give hydrogen and oxygen. In 1800, a British chemist, William Nicholson, 1753 to 1815, had shown that if electrodes were immersed in water and a current was passed, bubbles of oxygen and hydrogen were produced. Oxygen bubbles formed on the electrode connected to the positive terminal, and actually this electrode is also known as the positive electrode. Oxygen gas is liberated at positive electrode of the that setup, and hydrogen bubbles formed on the negative electrode. The passage of an electric current through a conducting solution causes chemical reaction, or we can say chemical change. So simply we can say that is electricity produce chemical effects. Now, some of the chemical effects of the electric current are like this. Bubbles of gas may be formed on the electrodes. Deposits of metal may be seen on electrodes. Changes of color of solution may occur. Now, which will observe? This depends on what solution and electrodes are used. Whether some fruits and vegetables also conduct electricity or not. Let us see one more activity. A potato, aloo, is cut into two halves, and the copper wires of a tester are inserted into it. Okay, this is our tester, and these are the free ends of this tester. These ends are immersed in this potato. After half an hour, it is noticed that there is a greenish blue spot on the potato around one wire, whereas there is no such spot around the other wire. You can see in this diagram. This is greenish blue spot at one part of, or we can say this is one wire, and at this wire there is no such type of spot is there. And if we repeat this activity again and again, then we will observe that it is the wire connected to the positive terminal which has a greenish blue spot around it. Okay, so this concept can be used for identifying the positive terminal of a cell or a battery concealed, means covered in a box. And actually why this greenish blue spot is obtained, actually there is some chemical reaction is taking place in this potato when we pass the electricity. Okay, so we can say current produces a chemical effect in the potato. Electroplating. Now see, brand new bicycle has shiny handlebar and wheel rims. All of you are using cycle. Okay, see this is the handle, this is shiny appearance, and this is a tire, and this is called rim. Okay, this also have the shiny appearance. If these are accidentally scratched, the shining coating comes off, revealing a not so shiny surface beneath. It means किसी स्क्रेच से यदि ये शाइनिंग कोटिंग हट जाती है, कम्स ऑफ मीन्स उतरना. ओके, तो इसके नीचे जो भी सरफेस है वो रिवीलिंग मीन्स प्रकट करना, तो आपको लगेगा बीनीथ पर नीचे, जो नीचे सरफेस है इट इज नॉट सो शाइनी सरफेस. ओके, women using ornaments which appear to be made of gold. Okay, actually some artificial jewelries or artificial ornaments are available in the market which look like a gold in golden color, but actually they are not made of gold. Okay, however with the repeated use the gold coating wears off. यदि इसको बार बार काम में लेंगे तो ऊपर की गोल्ड कोटिंग खराब हो जाएगी, घिस जाएगी, रिवेलिंग सिल्वर और सम अदर मेटल बीनीथ, यानी उसके नीचे जो भी दूसरा जो मेटल है जो महंगा नहीं होता है वो वाला मेटल नजर आएगा. In both these cases, a metal has a coating of another metal. Now, question arises: how a layer of one metal can be deposited on top of another? Let us see one activity. Take copper sulfate and two copper plates of size around 10 centimeter into 4 centimeter. Copper sulfate is one chemical, and this is in solid state, and its crystals are blue in color. You can see this diagram. This is the copper sulfate. Okay, and these are the copper plates. And when this copper sulfate is dissolved in the water, we will get the blue color solution like this. Okay, take 250 ml of distilled water in a clean and dry beaker. Dissolve 2 teaspoonfuls of copper sulfate in it. Add a few drops of dilute sulfuric acid to copper sulfate solution to make it more conducting. Okay. Now clean copper plates with sandpaper. This is sandpaper. Now rinse them with water and dry them. Okay. After rubbing with the sandpaper, we rinse them with water. Rinse means साफ करना, पानी के अंदर डाल करके साफ करना, and then dry them. Connect the copper plates to the terminals of a battery and immerse them in copper sulfate solution like this diagram. Okay, these are the copper plates. With the help of these wires, these are connected with this battery, and these copper plates are merged in this copper sulfate solution. Allow the current to pass for about 15 minutes. Now remove the electrodes from the solution and look at them carefully. We find that copper metal gets deposited on the plate at the negative of battery. Again remember, copper metal gets deposited on the plate at the negative of the battery. When electric current is passed through the copper sulfate solution, copper sulfate dissociates into copper and sulfate. The free copper gets drawn to the electrode connected to the negative terminal of the battery. Actually, when this copper sulfate is dissociated into the copper and sulfate, we will get the copper ions and sulfate ions. These copper ions are positively charged. Okay, that's why they attract towards the negative terminal of the battery and gets deposited on it. That is negative electrode. They are traced toward the negative electrode and deposit on it. From the other electrode, a copper plate. Another electrode is also the copper plate. An equal amount of copper gets dissolved in the solution. Now try to understand. From the solution, copper ions get deposited on the negative electrode, and the other copper electrode, which is also made up of the copper plate, equal amount of copper dissolved in the solution. So we can say the loss of copper from the solution is restored and the process continuous. Simply, from one copper plate, copper ion goes into the solution, and from solution these copper ions are deposited on the another electrode. This means that copper gets transferred from one electrode to the other. The process of depositing a layer of any desired metal on another material by means of electricity is called electroplating. This is the definition of electroplating. Now, applications of electroplating. The layer of metal deposited has some desired property which the metal of the objects lacks. For example, chromium plating is done on many objects such as car parts, bath taps, kitchen gas burners, bicycle handlebars, wheel rims, etc. You can see in this diagram. This is a car and this is the front of this. This is chrome plated. These are the tapes. Okay. This is gas burner and this is the rim. Okay. Now, actually why this we are using copper? Copper has a shiny appearance. It does not corrode. It means it is not react with the moist air. Corrosion is not taking place. It resists scratches. However, chromium is expensive and it may not be economical to make the whole object out of chromium. So, the object is made from a cheaper metal and only a coating of chromium over it is deposited. Clear? Now, some more example of this electroplating. Jewelry makers electroplate silver and gold on less expensive metals. Tin cans used for storing food are made of electroplating tin onto iron. That is, these cans are made of the iron, but it is electroplated by another metal, tin. Tin is less reactive than iron. Thus, food does not come into contact with iron and is protected from getting spoiled. Iron is used in bridges and automobiles to provide strength. However, iron is rusted. Now see, this is the one drawback of iron. Rusting of iron is taking place in the presence of water and oxygen. Okay, so coating of zinc is deposited on iron to protect it from corrosion and formation of rust. Okay, and this process of coating of zinc on the iron, this is known as galvanization of iron, and the iron obtained after the deposition of coating of zinc, that is known as galvanized iron. Okay, thank you. Subscribe my channel to get the next video from this chapter.